The village of Umuoma lay nestled between rolling hills and dense forests, its red earth paths winding like veins through the heart of the community. Life here was simple, yet vibrant, with every household bound by traditions passed down for generations. Esther and Chike were one of Umuoma's most admired couples. Chike, a hard-working farmer, tilled his land with diligence, producing abundant yams and cassava. Esther, with her calm demeanor and bright smile, taught at the village school, shaping young minds and inspiring a generation. Yet, beneath their perfect exterior, one thing was missing: a child. In Umuoma, a home without children was a home under scrutiny. "She's been married for 3 years now," whispered the market women as Esther walked past. "Not even a single child," another added. "Maybe she's barren." Esther heard the whispers. Though no one dared say it to her face, they stung like thorns. Chike tried to console her, but even his reassurances couldn't drown out the gnawing doubt that had begun to take root in her heart. 3 years into their marriage, Esther had conceived for the first time. The joy in their home was palpable, and the village celebrated the news. But in the 4th month, she woke up to sharp pains and found blood staining her sheets. Chike rushed her to the clinic, but it was too late. She had lost the baby. The villagers whispered. Some blamed the gods, others pointed fingers at Esther's weak body. "We'll try again," Chike reassured her, his own heart breaking. Her mother-in-law, Mama Anne, was less forgiving. "Perhaps the gods are displeased," she said bluntly. "You should see the priest at the shrine." Esther, however, had different thoughts. Raised with both tradition and faith, she continued to pray, believing that God would eventually bless her with a child. Months later, Esther conceived again. This time, she was cautious, adhering to every advice from the elders and midwives. But tragedy struck again in the 6th month. Another miscarriage. Grief settled over their home like a dark cloud. Chike held her as she cried, whispering, "God will give us another." After some time, Esther conceived again. This time she was cautious as never before, and equally fervent in prayers. At 7 months, just when they believed they were safe, Esther gave birth prematurely to a stillborn baby girl. Esther's screams echoed through the night, and Chike wept silently beside her. Esther returned home, filled with so much pain. "This is not normal," a man said grimly. "Someone is preventing these children from staying." "Perhaps the gods have indeed cursed her," she muttered. Esther began to lose hope. Her once vibrant smile faded, replaced by a weary, hollow expression. Nights were filled with silent tears, and even Chike's comforting presence couldn't ease her pain. One night, after another day of silent prayers, Esther dreamt of a radiant woman in white. The woman stood in a church filled with light, handed a child wrapped in soft white cloth to her. "This child is yours," the woman said softly, "but you must protect it with unwavering faith. The path will be filled with trials, but do not give up." Esther woke with a start, her heart pounding. Was it a sign? Was there still hope? Months later, Esther began feeling strange fluttering sensations in her abdomen. At first, she dismissed it, thinking it was stress or grief. But the sensation persisted. In the classroom, Esther found it harder to keep up with her students. The fatigue was relentless, and some days it felt like her body was dragging her down. One afternoon, as she stood at the blackboard, the chalk slipped from her fingers. Her vision blurred and the voices of the children became distant murmurs. She clutched the edge of the desk, trying to steady herself. "Teacher, are you sick?" a little girl asked, her voice filled with concern. "I'm fine," Esther whispered. But her legs buckled, and she sank into the chair behind her. Her hands trembled as she dismissed the class early that day. In the evening, as she lay beside Chike, the sensation returned, this time stronger. "Chike," she whispered, taking his hand and placing it on her belly. He felt it, a soft, rhythmic movement. "Could it be?" Chike asked, his eyes filled with cautious hope. But Esther's periods continued, and her body showed no outward signs of pregnancy. Despite the uncertainty, they both knew something was different. The following morning, Esther sought answers from Pastor Emmanuel, the priest of the village church. "You carried life, Esther," he said after listening to her story. "But forces beyond our understanding seek to harm it. We must pray and seek God's protection." When Esther shared Pastor Emmanuel's words with Chike, he was both relieved and concerned. "If this is true, why doesn't it show?" he asked. "Why would the child hide?" It could be a curse," Mama Ann suggested darkly. "You should see the priest at the shrine for cleansing." Esther softly said, but Pastor Emmanuel, however, had a different explanation. "This child is destined for something great. He said such children often face resistance from dark forces, but we should fear not. The light will always prevail." The village priest led the couple in a series of prayers and fasting. Despite this, strange occurrences and unexplained weakness continued. One sunny afternoon, while teaching a lesson, Esther felt a sudden wave of dizziness. Her vision darkened and her knees gave way. She collapsed in front of her students. Panic erupted. The children screamed and words reached Chike. Within minutes, Chike and a group of villagers carried her to the clinic in the neighboring town. Dr. Frank, a vibrant and compassionate doctor, examined her with a furrowed brow. "Esther, I need to run some tests," he said gently. Hours later, he returned with surprising news. "Esther, you're 6 months pregnant." "Huh?" Esther stared at him in disbelief. "How? I've had my periods. I don't look pregnant." "It's a rare condition called cryptic pregnancy. Your body concealed it, but the baby is there and healthy," the doctor said. Joy returned to their home, but it was accompanied by unease. At night, strange occurrences plagued their household. Doors creaked open on their own. Footsteps echoed in empty rooms. Esther often felt unseen eyes watching her. Esther visited Pastor Emmanuel, the village priest, and narrated the strange occurrences. "Someone doesn't want this child to be born," said Pastor Emmanuel. "There are forces at work here, but remember, no darkness can overpower the light of God." He prayed for Esther, and she went back home encouraged. One stormy night, some months later, Chike awoke to a noise outside their door. Grabbing his machete, he crept outside and found Ikenna, his estranged cousin, standing in the shadows. "Ha ha, I've come for what belongs to me," Ikenna said coldly. "What do you mean?" Chike demanded. "The child," Ikenna replied. "That child was never meant to be born." Chike's blood ran cold. He slammed the door shut and bolted it, returning to Esther, who sat up, her eyes wide with fear. "It's Ikenna," he whispered. "He claims the child doesn't belong to us." The following day, Esther and Chike returned to Pastor Emmanuel, who led the village in a night of intense prayer and fasting. "This is more than jealousy," the priest said grimly. Ikenna has dabbled in dark forces, but his curse can be broken. This child is destined for greatness, he said, but we must cover him with prayer and faith. Despite the prayers, Esther's pregnancy was fraught with complications. She grew weaker, and the shadows of fear and doubt loomed over their home. One evening, as they returned from the market, Esther felt a sharp pain. Chike rushed her to the clinic, praying under his breath with every step. Her labor was long and excruciating, but Esther clung to her faith, whispering prayers through clenched teeth. Pastor Emmanuel called and prayed fervently over the phone. After hours of struggle, a cry pierced the air, the cry of a newborn, loud and strong. Esther cradled her son, tears streaming down her face. "Simdi," she whispered, "God has written this child's story, and no one, no curse, no darkness could erase it." As they returned to Umuoma, the villagers gathered in awe. Simdi's birth was seen as a miracle, a testament to the power of faith, resilience, and the triumph of light over darkness. Even Ikenna disappeared from the village, his power broken, his name reduced to a cautionary tale whispered around evening fires. Life in Umuoma returned to normal, but the story of Esther, Chike, and Simdi became legend, a beacon of hope for all who believed in the unseen battle between light and darkness, and the enduring power of love and faith.